The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Welcome back to the show, all Cherries fans, and thank you for joining us for some Champagne Supernova. So, of course, there's a little bit of play on words there, but you all know where that's from. But, of course, next to me, I have got my main man, Matt Harrison. How you doing, Matt?
Yeah, all good, Craig. Nice to be on.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. And returning after his travel video that he did with us, it is the one and only Jonny Blair. How you doing, Johnny?
All right, guys. Yep, good to be back on. New season started and ready to support Iraola in our quest up the league again to the top 10, hopefully.
Most definitely, mate. Now, before we get going with this week's cherry picking, here's a bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. What they can do for you, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. So I tell you what, let's get stuck into it and tell you what is coming up on cherry picking this week. So we have got our weekly game, Guess the Cherry, and I will give you the answer to last week's question as well. And then Matt will run through this week's. We're also talking about Kepa Arrizabalaga as he becomes a cherry. The world's most expensive keeper is at Dean Court. We was moaning about VAR twice in a row, but in fact, during midweek, did we want VAR ourselves as Jared Bowen's arm came to give us a bit of a hammer blow and knock us out the cup? And of course, we have got our special guest, and as we continue to celebrate AFC Bournemouth's 125-year anniversary, Jonny Blair is going to talk us through his players of the decade. So there's lots and lots to look out for. And before we get going as well, do hit the like, subscribe, and the bell button as well. It does help this channel to grow. But I tell you what, let's start off with Guess the Cherry. And I'm going to tell you last week's Cherry, it was Daryl Flahaven. So there we are. Anybody who got I think there was one answer in the comments, wasn't there, that somebody put Flabs. We'll let you have that. So yes, it was Daryl Flahaven. But I tell you what, Matt, take it away. Do you want to do the honours this week?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so this week's Guest the Cherry was born in Sutton in 1984. He's a journeyman. He's played for 16 clubs across the country. He's earned 1 England C cap. When playing for Eastbourne, he played against Cherries legend Steve Fletcher. He played over 40 games for Bournemouth, scoring 4 times. He scored on his debut against Bristol Rovers in a 3-0 victory in the Football League Trophy.
So who is that Cherry? I would say answers on the back of a postcard, but of course we're not back in the 90s as yet. So yeah, do leave them in the comments below. Yeah, I don't know where people would send their postcards to for Guess the Cherry. Do you think? Where would they send it to, Matt?
People even send postcards these days.
No, I don't think they do. I think there's a shop just down the road that sells them. But to be fair, yeah, they don't seem to do a trade really anymore, do they?
No.
You always get home before them. You know that if you're on holiday, you'll send your postcard, but you'll be home before the postcard. So
I bet you've got a good range of postcards though, Johnny, haven't you?
I do actually collect them. I do. Everywhere I go, I try to pick up 1 or 2 postcards, and I've actually got a box with about 300 in them. I also used to post one to my brother all the time, and then I kind of stopped during COVID. I could get back into it again, I guess. You know, postcards should be going forever. People like a physical item maybe instead of just a Facebook upload or Instagram photo. You know, it might be a little more personal, a postcard, I guess.
It's like the same with everything, really, isn't it? Music, you know, you want the CDs, you want that physical media. You know, as we're talking about, of course, Oasis. I know you're a massive Oasis fan yourself. So am I. As you probably will all know through the amount of interviews that we've done. But yeah, I tell you what, it's good news, isn't it? And it's going to be quite exciting when the tour begins.
Yeah, I remember watching on YouTube. We played Man City in the 80s, and we were 3-0 down, and we drew 3-all. Obviously I didn't know about that back then because I was too young or whatever. And then I watched it on YouTube, and I think like we've only twice taken a point from Man City. So if Noel Gallagher's out there, let us win at least once against you this season. You know, it would be nice to get 3 points or a point off Man City because they always hammer us, you know.
Oh gosh, yeah. To be honest, I actually thought that at Dean Court last season, I thought we might have done something, and then of course, you know,
it was the closest we came. I think was it 1-0 we lost last season.
Yeah, it was, and I thought, well, we're going to get a result here against them, you know, and then of course, the normal happened. But I tell you what, let's talk about some one man who could be helping us keep teams like Manchester City at bay, and that is Kepa Arrizabalaga. The deal is over the line. The world's most expensive goalkeeper has arrived at Dean Court. He's been at Real Madrid, he's been at Chelsea, but he's now at AFC Bournemouth. And he is here to win his first team place. So, as it states here, AFC Bournemouth are delighted to announce the signing of goalkeeper Kepa Arrizabalaga on a season-long loan deal. The 29-year-old arrives at the Vitality Stadium from Chelsea, having spent last season on loan at a very small team called Real Madrid. Never heard of them, actually. Kepa played 20 times in all competitions for Madrid last season as they went on to win La Liga, the Champions League, and the Spanish Super Cup. never beats the Betway Cup. The Spain international was also part of the Chelsea squad to win the 2021 Champions League and the 2019 Europa League, as well as the 2022 Club World Cup. AFC Bournemouth Chief Executive Neil Blake said, "We are delighted to bring a player of Kepa's calibre to AFC Bournemouth. We were aware of his availability and we were keen to take the opportunity to bring him to the club on loan. We believe that he will be an exciting addition to our talented goalkeeping department." Now, put a pin in Neil Blake for the moment because we are going to just quickly touch on him in a moment. So, Neto versus Kepa. Neto, of course, played 32 times, conceded 55 goals, 7 clean sheets, 5 yellow cards. Whereas Kepa, on loan at Real Madrid, played 20 times, conceded 18 goals, 9 clean sheets, 2 yellow cards. This is pretty exciting stuff, isn't it, really? Let's be honest.
Yeah, definitely an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, it does make you wonder that who's going to go out the door, because we've still obviously got Will Dennis and Mark Travers still at the club at the moment. I know they're linked with moves, but I believe Kepa's come here to dislodge Neto. I don't think he's coming to sit on the bench for the season, not on the money he's going to be on. I know the deal hinged on him signing a new contract at Chelsea, and I believe he's taken a pay cut for him to come here on loan. So, yeah, I think it's a case of, will he start against Everton? I don't know whether he'll start against Everton. I think it's as soon as Neto makes a slip up, I think Kepa will be straight in. I think that might be how it works. But yeah, the world's most expensive goalkeeper at AFC Bournemouth, eh? Who'd have thought it?
Incredible, yeah.
I'm sure you remember the days of, where we was having to, Johnny, we was having to penny pinch, weren't we? And get players on loan, albeit, I know Kepa's on loan, but it's a little bit of a different scenario, isn't it? Getting them for peanuts, hopefully finding a gem in the rough, but this is something else, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy that we've got, 2 goalkeepers in our squad at the moment that have played international football for Spain and Brazil, and also Republic of Ireland, as you mentioned, with Travers. And the fact is that they've been at clubs that are massive, like Real Madrid and Barcelona. Neto was at Barca, wasn't he? So that blows your mind. If you'd have told us that 20 years ago, when we're struggling to get players in, that we're going to end up, we would take players on loan. I remember it was amazing to get like Warren Cummings, from Chelsea on loan, or Warren Feeney from Leeds. They were coming to us on loan, and then we wanted to buy them. So yeah, we'll see what happens. So hopefully he'll get a game, and if he's got more clean sheets than Neto, we'll have to assess that, and maybe Iraola will have to work out who's the best goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And I'm not criticising Xuan Zhilao, but this is a little bit of a step up.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely.
Definitely, yeah.
One thing I did say there was about Neil Blake. And of course, there is some breaking news as we are recording this. And Neil Blake is actually being appointed. Is it the chief executive of the Black Knight Football Group?
I believe it's not, because the actual chief executive of the group is actually Bill Foley.
Oh, okay.
But he's going to take up a new role at Black Knight Football Club,
right?
Which Cherries owner Bill Foley is chief executive. So he's going to be overseeing the whole portfolio of the football clubs, which is a nice promotion. Obviously, he's done a lot of work at Bournemouth, hasn't he? I mean, he's done a great job in his role. I think personally, he's done a great job. I know he's taken a lot of stick from time to time, but he came into the club, I think it was 2009. Obviously, when the likes of Eddie Mitchell had stabilised the club, and then obviously Maxim come in, and he's grown in the role as the club's grown as well. So, big shoes to fill, I think. Yep. Especially with losing Hughesy at the beginning of the summer to Liverpool. Two guys that have, really brought a lot of decent players into the club over the years, and now both of them be out of the picture. So, big shoes to fill, whoever steps in.
I think that he's put the club in quite a good position, hasn't he, Johnny? Because, of course, we got Thiago Pinto now. Of course, Simon Francis is in that role that he stepped up, after Richard Hughes has left to go to Liverpool. I think, from the business that we've done, it's been pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, the thing I like about the way we've been run in the last few years is that these people that you mentioned, they know the club, their community. Yeah. We're a community club. We're not just getting someone from abroad and firing them in, like the likes of, Stephen Purchase, Simon Francis, Richard Hughes working behind the scenes at Dean Court. It makes you feel that, these people know what the club's about. They know the history. Imagine getting someone into your job that doesn't know the history of the club. It doesn't work. You need to have someone that knows, Neil Blake knows what the club is about, has taken it from when he came in to now, a top 10, as I see it, a top 10 Premier League team. And the success is it's the togetherness. We're a club that the success isn't just, we don't just say, oh, it's just Eddie Howe. It's just Neil Blake. It's all together. We've built the club up to be proud that we're in the top 10.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, I tell you what, let's talk about our most recent game as well. I didn't do a reaction video after it, like I did the Newcastle game. I was absolutely furious after the Newcastle game, but of course we're out of the Carabao Cup, and another very dodgy refereeing decision. Put nicely, Jared Bowen's arm has, basically helped West Ham through. We were much the better side, in my honest opinion. But, of course, it was West Ham that got the hand of God on the night. And, of course, it's put them through to the next round where they'll play Liverpool. So I guess we get to avoid that. But... AFC Bournemouth were eliminated from the Carabao Cup thanks to a dramatic late defeat over fellow Premier League side West Ham United. With 2 minutes to go, the Hammers scored a winner as Mohamed Kudus' shot bounced off Jared Bowen's arm and then into net. The Cherries felt aggrieved by the decision, and there was no VAR in use due to the Carabao Cup rules. Despite the defeat, there were plenty of positives for the visitors, with Andoni Irio's side creating the far clearer chances on the night. Evan Nilsson had 2 good opportunities, and Marcus Tavernier hit the post in the capital. Speaking after the game, Iriola praised Evan Nilsson's performance, speaking to the Daily Echo. He said, "I think he has played very, very well. I think he has found himself in very good positions. He's fought very well with very difficult centre-backs. Obviously, he's had 2 very, very clear chances, and you think he hasn't scored. But for me, they've been very good performances. I just want him to find himself again in those positions because we know the level he has." Well, I'll tell you what, let's cut to the chase with this, and I'll go around the room. And it's something that somebody mentioned to me, a West Ham friend. Of course, we've had complaints in the Forest game about VAR, complaints in the Newcastle game about VAR, and then of course VAR's not been in use, and this error. We can't really have it both ways, can we? Face says it all, Matt.
I just think it's a tale of 2 arms, isn't it? The last 2 games, you've got a goal that's ruled out. Sorry, because of I still can't get my head around it.
No,
it's hit him here, and it's gone into the goal. That for me is not handball.
Completely.
Yeah, okay? And the other thing is, it's not clear and obvious. It's not clear and obvious, and it's not deliberate. He's trying to head it into the net. The Newcastle player's come in with his arm as well, and it could have come off the Newcastle player's arm. So it's not even clear on watching it again. What is clear is that the ball goes into the net. That's the clearest part for me. So if the ball's in the net, if there's nothing wrong with it, it should be a goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those where I look and I think, why did VAR even need to intervene?
Oh,
Yes,
completely
Because
agree.
there was no need. I mean, if this is the thing, if that's the rule of the game, now they put a graphic on Sky Sports News this week, and it was green here and then red down, obviously down the arm. The ball's hit the green area.
Yeah.
Now, the referee that sat behind the VAR screen must know the rules of the game, so why has he intervened? This is what I just don't understand with VAR, and I don't think I will ever understand it. I just think that they interpret the rules all differently,
The
and
referee on
it's
the pitch made the right decision.
yeah,
He
absolutely,
made
he
the
yeah,
gave it.
right
He gave it.
decision. And, then somebody at Stockley Park is sat there in front of a monitor and trying to assess it.
but
And
that person is a referee, and that person should know the rules. So
yeah,
why have they intervened? I mean, it's just it's absolutely. We could look back on this season, and those 2 points could be crucial that we've
Mm-hmm.
lost on that game. And
Yeah.
that's the thing for me, is that we deserve to win. Yes, Newcastle, did come at us at times, and yes, Neto did play a blinder. In fairness to Neto, I thought he played really well. So, okay, to say we deserve to win, people may agree, disagree, but that was a goal.
Mm-hmm.
That
it's the
was a
small
goal.
margins at the end of the season. And the way I look at it as well, guys, is that Watara's head has gone towards the ball. He's got, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's the strongest of contact. If it's hit his shoulder and it goes into the back of the net, it's a goal. He hasn't moved his arm up. He hasn't moved his arm in a position to actually try and direct the ball.
Mm-hmm.
The arm has stayed, and of course, I did that thumbnail shortly after. And the thing is his arm didn't move position from the moment it hit his head to the moment it went in the back of the net. His arm was in same angle. It didn't move up. It didn't, try and swing either way. I could understand if that had happened because the referee could say, actually, he's tried to direct it into the back of the net by doing that, but he hasn't. Um, and Johnny, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? There's no consistency because next week I can guarantee you, maybe even this weekend, what happens if Everton score a goal that's almost identical to that,
And it's given. And
and
it's
it's
given.
given?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you see, that's what will happen. That's the sort of thing that will
mm,
happen. It's not consistent, right? And it's also, if that was Man City at home and they scored in the last minute, that would be a give. That would be given. If it was Man United or Man City at home, it would be
yeah,
given. I mean, we've seen Old Trafford last season. We won 3-0 away, smashed them. But actually, we had 2 goals disallowed. Lots of people forget that. And that means we should have beat Man United 5-0 away. Now, if it had been 0-0 and those 2 goals were disallowed, we'd have been coming away from Old Trafford with 1 point where we should have had 3.
Mm.
So
yeah.
these are small margins, and I think that it favours the bigger clubs. I think Man City and Man United and Liverpool at home will get that'll be a goal. But
Yeah.
that's just how I feel about it. Maybe the referees will tell me, no, it's equal. It's always the same. Well, let's see then. Let's see if Man City score a goal with their shoulder or their arm this week, and if it's debated or if they get the goal given. Because I think they will get the goal if it's at the Etihad or Old Trafford or Anfield.
Do you know what? That's a really good example, Johnny, because of Manchester United. Because of course, we was there at that game between Bournemouth and Manchester United, the home game, and of course there
Oh, the
was the
home one as
handball.
well. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
there
had
was the handball
dodgy
against Adam
decisions.
Smith, and of
Mm-hmm.
course the referee gave a penalty. Now, to be honest, it might, Matt, I'll throw this at you. That was ball to hand, wasn't it? Where did he put his arm? What can he
Mm-hmm.
do? When the ball's coming towards him, put his arm behind him to
But
avoid it.
this is the thing now, isn't it? I mean, that old ball to hand rule's out the window now, isn't it? If it makes contact with the hand, it's a penalty now, isn't it?
Yeah, all the players do this now. They jump with their hands
Yeah,
behind their back so that
yeah,
they make it obvious to the referee that they're not trying to hit it with their
yeah,
hand. But if you
yeah,
don't have time to react quickly and it hits your arm, then it's penalty. They're like, yeah, that's a penalty. It touched
yeah.
his arm in the box. It's a penalty. And whether it's deliberate or not, sometimes they give the ones that don't look deliberate, and sometimes it bounces by mistake onto a player's hand and it's a penalty. So
I mean, going back to the referee and referees in general, I mean, for me, I don't think any of them have got the bottle to stand up to VAR and say, no, I've made the right decision on the pitch. Now, if the referee had done that on Sunday, he would have made the right decision, on the pitch. He was influenced, obviously, by VAR. I mean, if VAR are like, look, we're thinking it's handball, you're giving the goal, go to the monitor. He didn't even go to the monitor, did he? So, I mean, sometimes I think referees, when you go back and look over the years, they reckon before VAR, 90% of decisions were right by referees across all four divisions in the pyramid, the professional pyramid. Now, that's a high percentage. So I just think sometimes if referees disagree, they should back their own decision up. They're in charge of the match. VAR that is there to assist them. That's the way I look at it.
And you look at a referee like Mark Housey. Now, I know I'm not saying Mark because he's been on here several times, but Mark Housey, 99% of the time got the decisions right. And he was honest enough when he didn't to hold his hands up. He wasn't shy of making that decision. He was bold. If, he thought something was a penalty or a red card or whatever, he would make that decision there and then. There is these referees now. I think the level of refereeing in the Premier League is probably weaker than it is in the Championship because they're relying on somebody at Stockley Park to do the job for them. It's like turning around and, if I thought, well, doing my job, I would just sit on my arse all day and just wait for things to come in. Things might come in, but instead of actually making the calls, making the decisions, it would be left to somebody else. And that's not the way to run a business. It's not a way to improve these referees. It's not the way that football should be run. But they're relying on somebody and sat in front of a monitor going, oh yeah, that isn't. But then, the referee against West Ham, of course, has not implemented the rules the right way. And this is where the standard of refereeing has just gone downhill from the days of Mark Housey, Jeff Winter, Uriah Rennie, Graham Poll, Paul Durkin. You name them. Not all of them were liked. I'm sure that some teams would probably say, I can't stand that referee, I can't stand that one. But they were consistent. They weren't. And it's irking me now. It really is, because I just feel that there is just no consistency to this at all.
Yeah, it was definitely off the arm, and it's if the referee hasn't spotted it, maybe the linesman should have spotted that. I mean, it's a funny one, isn't it? They don't use VAR in the Carabao Cup till the final, I believe. I believe they use it in the final, but they don't use it in any.
It's so inconsistent, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if anybody saw the draw last night, but they do a mini draw before the games last night, where all the top six were drawn out to avoid each other. 4 of them got home draws, 2 of them got away. Now they should have just been chucked into the mix altogether. I don't understand
why each other. Yeah,
it's to try and. I think it's to try to keep interest in the cup, to keep the big boys in there.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's wrong. It's wrong. It really is. I think Newcastle have got drawn to AFC Wimbledon away.
Yeah.
Because they were already picked out to be an away team in a draw. If they get drawn against Man City, they get drawn against Man City. Just like we got drawn against West Ham in the second round. I just don't get it. I think it's obviously, like we said, to keep interest in the cup, but then it gives a disadvantage in some respects to clubs like Bournemouth, West Ham, to have a cup run in this kind of cup, because they're playing the top 6 away from each other. I just don't understand the draw. I just don't understand that.
Seeding teams is a ridiculous. If you've got Manchester City versus Arsenal, in the third round of the Carabao Cup, do it. It will still be a spectacle, But of course, it gives another team, a chance of getting through. Look at, a couple of years back, wasn't it Swansea City versus Bradford City?
Yeah, in
And
the final.
trying to avoid that. And I
Yeah,
just
and
think
that's what that cup
rubbish.
should be about. It should be about, things like that. Bradford and Swansea obviously were Premier League side then. It should be about things like that. But I just saw that draw last night, and that's the first time I've seen it. I don't know if it's the first year they've done it or if they've done it for a few years or what, but I just looked at that and thought that's just crazy, because, that heaven forbid if teams like, I don't know, Bournemouth and West Ham and Leicester and Southampton got to the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup, everyone would switch off and lose interest, wouldn't they? Do you know what I mean? It's no, I don't know. I just think it kills the magic of the cup there for me. That one, but
well, actually, if you think about the League Cup, the UK is one of the only places in Europe where we have 3 trophies. Northern Ireland, Scotland, and England all have this League Cup, right? Now in Scotland, Rangers or Celtic often just win all 3 of them. It's very rare to get another club winning any of those 3 trophies in Scotland. And here we saw Man City won 3 trophies one season domestically. They won the League Cup, the Premier League, and the FA Cup. What's the point in that then? The League Cup's not giving chances for these lower division teams. I'd love to watch 2 4th division teams in the final of that. That would be brilliant for their supporters. Imagine something like that, like Walsall against Crewe in the final. But that's never going to happen now. It's just not going to happen.
The FA Cup, we could even just mention on that note, of course, they've abolished the replays, from the earlier rounds, which I think is ridiculous. Imagine now that, Paul Town get into the 3rd round of the FA Cup, and I know this would be dramatic, but, they managed to get a 0-0 draw against Manchester United, at Tatnam.
Right.
And they, now, I know it's a little bit out there, but, run with it. But the thing is they would not now be able to go to Old Trafford to make that money, to get their
penalties.
reward.
Yeah, it's penalties.
Rubbish.
The good geek fact about Poole Town, like you mentioned them, is Poole Town have been in a European final. Did you know that?
Have they?
Yeah, this is a geek fact. You can check this out. In I think it was 1982 or 1983, the Anglo-Italian Cup was open for non-league teams, and Poole Town got into the final, and I think they played. Gosh, I'd have to look it up. But they lost 4-1. But they've officially been. I mean, the buzz in the town when that happened must have been quite big, or it might have just passed on to the radar. So, yeah, it'd be nice to get a team like that. I mean, I think Weymouth had a cup run at one point. Salisbury have been in the 3rd round, I'm sure, as well. So, yeah, the FA Cup still has a bit of magic for me, but only up to the quarterfinals. I mean, we were knocked out by, what was that team? Bromley? Borehamwood.
Borehamwood, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was disaster.
Yeah, knocked us out fair and square, no complaints. And I was quite happy for them in the end because they got to play, was it Everton or someone away?
Yeah.
It's a big game for them, so brilliant. FA Cup, much better than the League Cup. The League Cup is lost it, really, for me. I might not even watch the rest of that tournament this year. The League Cup, who cares? We're out. West Ham will lose to Liverpool anyway. We would have lost to Liverpool probably. On with the show. Focus on the league and the FA Cup then.
Yeah, just going back very quickly. Wednesday, the 20th of May, 1981, was the date of the Anglo-Italian Cup final, and Poole Town played a side called Modena FC.
That's quite a big club, aren't they? They're in the Italian leagues, I think.
Yeah, there's a whole write-up about it on their website. It's quite an interesting write-up by the chairman on there.
Okay.
But yeah, interesting fact. I actually didn't know that. Know that.
That's an impressive fact.
I go down some pigeonholes sometimes and just find stuff online when I'm having a wee look, and that's how I found out about that. I think it was during COVID it came up. I was just researching who'd won the Anglo-Italian Cup. I mean, Port Vale were in the final of it in the 90s, and they lost at Wembley 5-2 to some Italian team, but it was 5-0 at one point. So it's quite interesting that they scored like 2 late goals or something. So Port Vale have been in the final of it as well.
And it was live on Italian TV.
Was it now? Full time. There you go.
Do you know what? It would be great if we could find a copy of that. If anybody's watching and has got a video cassette of that,
probably be Betamax, wouldn't it? 1981. I don't think even VHS were out then, would it?
Yeah. There's a match program.
But I tell you what, if somebody has got a recording of that and can send it in to me, don't worry. As long as you're happy with it, I will stick it on this very channel, because I tell you what, that would be of interest to absolutely everyone.
Hold on. The game was also on TV, and I did manage to get a Betamax tape of the 90 minutes, and it got worn very, very thin with that goal constantly being rerun. So there you go. The chairman had it on Betamax by the looks of it.
There you are. Yeah. Well, I'll have to reach out to him. Let's see if we can get it. I want to watch this. But I tell you what, let's talk about players of the decade. And Jonny has been so good to tell us his. And here we go. So, Jonny Blair's players of the decade. Let's run through them. So, let's start off with the first one, the 90s. The era of course, Oasis, Blur, Ocean Colour Scene, all the great bands. And the first one, Jerry Painton. Go on, Jonny, take it away.
Yeah, I think growing up watching the World Cup, you get your sticker book, Panini sticker book. 1986, Northern Ireland were in it, and Colin Clark scored for us. He was a cherry. And then I noticed for the second World Cup in a row in 1990, there was also a cherry there. So Jerry Painton was the understudy goalkeeper to Packy Bonner. Probably you guys remember Packy Bonner, right?
Yeah.
So obviously Packy was the main Republic of Ireland keeper, and Jerry got a few games, quite a few. Obviously, he played for us. He's also played in the Premier League. At one point, he did play there, and as you've written there, he 202 appearances and third division champion. When we got promoted. So, and then he stayed until the 90s for quite a bit as well. So, good memories of the fact that we had players at the World Cup when we were still in the the third tier, if you like.
Excellent memories. And of course, let's go to the next one. Steve Robinson. Everybody will recognise him of a certain age. Go on, Jonny, take it away, mate.
Yeah, well, I'm from Northern Ireland, so yes. when we have players that make it across the water, you're always interested. I always want them to do well. Robbo obviously became quite a bit of a cult with his song. Here's to you, Stevie Robinson. Bournemouth loves you more than you will know. So and obviously it says auto windscreen shield, so he must have played against Grimsby in that game. I'm guessing he played against Grimsby.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
1998, that would have been. Yeah. Played only 7 Northern Ireland caps. I'm quite surprised by that. I think he should have been capped more, but we must have had quite a competitive midfield then with Steve Lomas, Neil Lennon, Michael Hughes, Keith Gillespie. So maybe he came in around the time it was difficult to break into the Northern Ireland team. If he was at Northern Ireland these days, we would probably have him on the team now. He'd be good enough to be on the team every time. But in the 90s, it was, we had a more competitive midfield then. Yeah,
he's a great player. Fond memories.
Yeah. Matty Holland then is up next, yeah?
Yeah.
So, well, I kept it quite Irish there at the start. I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
This is a bit biased, isn't it? So you got Jerry Payton. No. Yeah. We had Payton, and then we had and Matt Holland is another World Cup geek fact, isn't it? Because he scored in the World Cup for the Republic of Ireland against Cameroon. I think it was 2002 World Cup.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
but he started at us, and what a player! 49 caps for the Republic also says it all. And he was captain, and then we made quite a decent bit of money out of him. I'd have said then if it was 800,000, he went to Ipswich, and he became a star there in the Premier League as well for them. So excellent, fond memories. And I don't know what he's up to now, Matt Holland, whether he's a coach or something. But
he's working in the media now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's in the media. He's been on Talksport before, and I think he's a freelancer. works for wherever the work is. I think he goes. I think he's been covering Ipswich a little bit lately because obviously they've just got back into the Premier League, and I think he covers Republic of Ireland every now and then. But such a great player, Matty Holland. I mean, I've got so many fond memories of him, and he's such a good, such a young player. When he was captain for us, I think he was only about 21 when he was captain, and such mature head on such young shoulders. And eventually, obviously, he kind of helped bankroll the club during the difficult times when we sold him on to Ipswich. But brilliant player.
And of course, he's a player as well. After he did leave, like you say, Johnny, he went into the Premier League, played a lot of times there. But also, I can remember that run. I think it was 2001, 2001, wasn't it? Where Ipswich managed to get into the UEFA Cup, which was a massive rise. I think still to this very day, it's actually the biggest rise of any promoted team into the Premier League. So since 1992.
Yeah, you're right about that. The Ipswich, there's also a geek fact about Ipswich is that they've played, I think it's between 30 and 40 home matches in Europe down the years, and they've never lost at home. Now, that might sound, like who did they play? But they've played Real Madrid, AC Milan, Barcelona, and Inter Milan at home. They've never lost at home in Europe. Incredible.
Yeah, most definitely.
Wow, that is a fact.
Yeah, it's a good one. Ipswich fans probably don't want to get into Europe again, just in case that record disappears. Yeah.
I'm sure they'll enjoy it if they do.
They won the UEFA Cup when John Wark played. I think 1981 they won it, didn't they? They were the kings of Europe for a season.
Yes, Bobby Robson was manager, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the next player. And everybody will recognise this man.
Coxey.
Yeah. Ian Cox.
I mean, you can tell I've got the World Cup vibe going here. Probably you do remember when Trinidad and Tobago finally qualified. He was in the squad, wasn't he?
Yes, certainly was.
2006. Always good to have a bit of a hard man, a decent defender that can sort of put his weight in there and cause strikers to have a bad game. Weighs in with the goals. Another solid defender from a time where we didn't have many promotions and relegations in that era. I think we did the final of the windscreens, 98. But so he was there at a time where the club was in some type of mid-table mediocrity a few times, and at least he played his part in those days where we were probably collecting money in the buckets in the late 90s. And Coxey was there. So, big respect for him.
Yeah, I mean, Coxey for me, as a young lad on the terraces, was my favourite player for a long, long time. And he come in from Palace as a midfielder, central midfielder. And Machin transformed him into this sort of cultural centre-back that he just went... He dropped him back into centre-back, and he was there just like he'd played there all his career. He was fantastic. Like you say, good tackler, would put his head on the ball, but not only that, he could play with the ball as well. And absolutely fantastic player to watch. And one season, I believe it was the 1996-97 season when he started playing at centre-back, and he was actually our leading goal scorer that season.
Yeah.
With 8 goals.
Yeah, brilliant.
8 goals. Knew where the goal was as well, Coxey. But another one who, we sold him to Burnley for 500,000. I think it was about 500,000 we sold him for. So good profit on a player that came in as a freebie. And I believe, if I remember rightly, he then made his debut for Burnley at Dean Court the following Saturday. I think he left on the Tuesday and he was back at Dean Court on Saturday to make his Burnley debut. So, I loved Coxey. A real big fan of Coxey.
There we go.
And then let's go on to the noughties. And the first one, Carl Fletcher. There is the man. Of course, 36 caps for Wales. Johnny, take it away, mate.
Well, I thought it would be unfair just to have one Fletcher if we're doing the 90s. So,
You're giving it away who the other one is now.
is Super Fletch going to be in as well? Who knows? We don't know who'll be next on the list. But so Carl, yeah. I mean, I'm not joking you. The first time I saw Carl and Steve together, I asked my mate if they were brothers, right? So it shows you how, I didn't have a clue that they're not even related. It just seemed so cool to have the two Fletchers. There was a match we played Sheffield Wednesday away. I was at it at Hillsborough on a Wednesday night. And the first goal was scored by Carl Fletcher. It was a free kick. And at the away end, we were in the away end and it was at the other end. The second goal was scored by Steve Fletcher and he slipped it into the bottom corner. So I remember that. Brilliant memories of... beating Sheffield Wednesday and both Fletcher scored. And obviously he was our captain. He scored in the Millennium Stadium at the playoff final. And also lots of caps for Wales, which is well-deserved, for a third and fourth division player at the time. And Wales picked him. So brilliant. And then he ended up at West Ham, I think, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah, I believe he did.
Yeah, he moved on to West Ham. Yeah, again, another great youth product. And it's funny that because everybody thought, we called him Big Fletcher and Little Fletcher at the time, and everyone thought they were brothers. And
I wasn't the only one then. That's all right. I don't think
No. A lot of people did. A lot of people did. And I've actually got a picture that's behind me that's signed by both of them. I'll get it down and I'll show everybody on camera in a minute that they've both signed.
Right.
Yeah, but again, the playoff final, he was playing out of position. He was playing centre back and scored 2 headers. Fantastic day. And great player, great servant for the club. And obviously he's back here now, isn't he? So great times.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there we are. There's the main man. And what a lovely shirt that is.
Oh, that's a classic. I want that one. That's a good shirt. I like that.
Honestly, I absolutely last season's remake of that. Honestly, my favourite shirt, that we've had in the last 10 years. But this is just iconic. But go on. I've said so much about Steve Fletcher. Johnny, it's your turn. You talk about him.
I mean, you can't really. There's no words will describe what he did for the club. The fact is, he's still a record appearance, isn't he? Yeah. It says that. Yeah. I mean, the Grimsby goal. We're mentioning Grimsby quite a lot today. Thanks, Grimsby. Well, they might have beat us in the windscreen Shield final, but we beat them to stay up. So, that is fantastic. The hat trick as well. He got the hat trick against Brentford on New Year's Day.
Yes.
So there's so many goals I remember Fletch scoring. Some absolute screamers, some headers, bullet headers. And he had so many strike partners during the years. He could play with anyone. He was playing with, probably Jermaine Defoe. We had Warren Feeney. We had Hayter, obviously, was in there. Alan Connell Allen. Fletch, what else can we say about him? That's it. This is Super Fletch.
Just a bloody legend, isn't he? He's just quality. Absolutely love the man. And anybody who doesn't isn't a Bournemouth fan.
It's a lovely kit that I've actually got that one.
The original, the
original one. Mine had yellow coaches on it, but doesn't fit now, unfortunately. So I can't put it on anymore. But classic kit and a lovely remake last season. But what a legend. What else can you say? Legend is often used too freely, but not for this guy.
Next one is Warren Feeney. Again, another great player in the early noughties. Go on, take it away, Johnny.
Well, the thing is, obviously, when you have a player like that, he does attract a bit of criticism because he sort of came in and then he played for a few seasons and then he left. And, Bournemouth fans had forgotten him as soon as he'd gone, sort of thing. But when he was there, he had his own song. If you've got your own song, it's always good, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it was the one I used to remember was the "We love you, Feeney, because he's got no hair." So that, because he's everywhere. Please score a goal for me. I remember some of his winners. I think there was the QPR came down on a Saturday afternoon. They were top of the league, and they thought we're gonna win this. We beat them 1-0. Warren Feeney scored. I think Fletch set him up. I think Fletch had knocked down with the header, and Feeney slipped it in. Beat them 1-0, top of the league. You're having a laugh, and just a few of the memories from Feeney. He scored at the old Dean Court, and then he scored at the new one as well when we turned the stadium around. So he sort of spanned both of those eras. He spanned our era of the old school football stadium, and then he went up with us as well. He was probably playing in the playoff final that day, wasn't he?
He was actually injured.
Oh, he's injured. You're right.
He
I forgot that.
Yeah.
He was. Yeah,
He
he didn't play. Yeah. So I'd probably Hater and Fletch up front that day. So yeah, Warren Feeney. I've met him quite a few times. I used to bump into him at Dean Court and have a chat with him. I've met him at a few Northern Ireland games. He's a good lad. He did move into management, which hasn't necessarily worked out that successfully for him. He managed Ards and Glentoran, and I think Linfield as well. So I don't know. I'm not sure what he's up to at the minute, but he was managing last season anyway.
Well, let's have a look at the next player, and Alan Connell. So 2 stints Alan had here, but he scored that goal at Burton that secured promotion from League 2. Go on, Johnny. Take it away, mate.
Well, Alan Connell, I call him Alan Connell Alan because it was, again, if you've got a song, right, you've made it as a cherry if you've got a song, right? That's the rule. And, the Alan Connell song, you'd have him warming up on the touchline, to come on. We were singing Alan Connell Alan, get him on. And he would be a wee bit of a super sub. You'd sort of bring him on and he'd score at the end. He was injury prone, unfortunately. I thought he didn't live up to his potential. 119 appearances, 19 goals. I'm a bit disappointed that there's not more of both there, because probably if you look at the period that he was with us, 3 years and then 2 years, that's like 5 cumulative years. He should be getting 200 appearances and 50 goals, but it doesn't matter. He's still a bit of a legend for me. I like the way he put himself about, and he was always in and around Fox in the box, or come on a sub and score you a winner. And as you mentioned, the Burton goal, and quite a few others. There was one I remember. It was Bradford City on a Tuesday night. He swiveled on the turn and smashed it in. So good memories of Alan Connell Allen.
Yeah. He's funny you mentioned the injuries there, because I remember when he first come in, he hit the ground pretty well. He started really well in front of goal, and I remember, I think it was in this shirt actually that I've got on now, he had a nasty leg break, I think, at Exeter,
right?
And that was kind of the start of his injury problems. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Without the injuries, you definitely would have seen more appearances and goals on that tally, definitely, because he was a good player, really good player. And again, a player that also played for Poole Town, as we've had a little bit of a Poole Town theme tonight. And playing for Poole Town, he'd come on. I was at this game because I sometimes pop down there and watch Poole Town. It's only around the corner from me. And they brought him on, Alan Connell, and the opposition saw that obviously there was an ex-pro on there, and they brought the biggest bloke on from the bench, right? And they stuck him on in the centre of midfield, right? First thing he does, crunches Alan Connell. Funny game. But currently obviously he's doing all the development stuff at the club as well, so he's bringing all the youngsters through, and by the looks of it, he's doing a cracking job.
Yeah. And wow, this man. Yeah. Go on. I've said so much about James Hayter myself, Johnny, but you take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I was there at the hat trick night. That's one of the best matches I've ever been at. 6-0 against Wrexham, and it was 3-0, and then Hayter came on as sub. I mean, but the story is ridiculous. Not only is it the fastest hat trick in history, but we were already 3-0 up, and he came on as sub, and his parents went to the Isle of Wight and missed the goals because they thought he wasn't going to come on. There's so many stories around that Hayter time. The other thing is the Wrexham match that Hayter scored the fastest hat trick in Football League history, still a record. It was actually a rescheduled match. It was supposed to be on a Saturday, and it was pissing down with rain. And it was delayed or something. And then when it did happen, it was on the Tuesday night. It was pancake night. It was Shrove Tuesday. I came home. I was at university at the time. I came home and my flatmates were making pancakes. So I popped out and got some cherries. We made cherry pancakes that night. So we did cherry pancakes. James Hayter hat-trick, 6-0 against Wrexham. Fastest hat-trick in history of Football League, top 4 divisions, I think that is. And then after the match, we went into the Dolphin on the Holdenhurst Road, and we were drinking cherry shots. We were just like, let's have, we probably had 3 shots quicker than Hayter in the 2 minutes 20. So great. And then the 4 goals against Bury, that was the playoff, wasn't it?
I don't think it was the playoff.
It was another playoff, no?
No, I don't think it was the playoff. No,
we
it
beat
wasn't.
Bury in the playoff semi, though, didn't we? Was that a different
Yeah,
season?
yeah, that was a couple of years later. Yeah, no, that's right. But this game, it was. I think actually it was the same game that Warren Cummings made his debut on loan. Coming from Chelsea.
Yeah.
And 4 goals in one game against Bury at Gig Lane. Yeah, I remember that.
And hat-trick at Blackpool as well, if I recall. We beat Blackpool one night. He got a hat-trick. Hayter.
Yeah.
Definitely did, definitely. Because I think I had it on... I think I had it on DVD, if that is even was a thing. But, the club used to release DVDs of it, proper games. I think there was one of the Blackpool away game.
Yeah. I mean, that was what Mark McAdam used to do for the club, wasn't it? The Cherry TV DVDs, which, I've got a whole range of them here, which I like to reminisce over every now and then.
Yeah, and while we're on Hayter, he also scored the winner for Doncaster against Leeds in a playoff final, which also delighted Cherries fans because we don't want Leeds to go up. So he continued the trend even after he left us, and he ended up at Yeovil. I remember... I think, didn't he play against us when he was at Yeovil?
I think he did, didn't he?
Yeah, and
about 2011. I don't think he was in. Was he in their squad when they, were in the Championship? But I think the season.
I think
they went up. I think they were. He was in the squad, wasn't he? Or was that the season before? I'm trying to think now.
Might have been the season before.
Yeah, it could well have been.
Yeah,
I can't quite remember off the top of my head.
I met him in a bar one night as well. He was just having a drink with his mates, and of course I was starstruck. I just went over and started talking about the hat trick and everything, and his mates were laughing because they were like saying to me, like, "Oh, somebody actually remembers you, James," and I'm like, "Everyone at Dean Court remembers James Hayter. It's not like somebody because maybe their mates were not big football fans, or maybe his mates were just like, I don't know, from his childhood or something." And it was funny just seeing him. I was just talking away to James. He was great crack, great banter. And I even came up with a goal that he'd forgotten that he scored. I mentioned that we beat Notts County 1-0. And I remember your goal. And he's like, "Oh, did I score that one?" I went, yeah. It's 20 yards, bottom corner. And he'd forgotten it. So
he did score so many. But
yeah.
But yeah, he's a lovely, lovely guy as well.
Versatile player as well. Versatile, could play out wide and down through the middle. So he was very versatile player, and like you say, he had some success at Doncaster, and good career really. Well, very good career when you put the hat trick in there.
Yeah.
Before we go on to the next segment, which is from 2010, Matt, show us this picture.
Oh, right, yeah.
Here we go.
You make me full screen, yeah?
I am going to make you full screen. There we are.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that. Super Fletch with that bald head. And
that's actual signature. This isn't a copy. That's an actual photograph.
It's not a dodgy copy. It is
it's not a dodgy original copy. But that picture there, can remember being in the newsstand that day. That was the first home game of the season of the 2000-2001 season, and we were 1-0 down against Cambridge, I think, who had just got promoted to Division 2 at the time, and Fletcher scored the equaliser.
Yeah, and both Fletchers. You got both Fletchers on there, didn't you?
Yeah. Carl.
Yeah, the Fletcher brothers, which is fake news. The Fletcher brothers
both signed it. I need to get a nice frame for it, actually. But another one part of my memorabilia.
Yeah. And And while you're there, I've got these 2 DVDs here. That's the Fletch, Super
Yes.
Fletch.
Yeah.
That's the hat trick. And then there's a James Hayter one. Looks a bit upset there because we just lost to Burnley.
Yes.
That is it's actually quite a rare kit. Do you remember that
That
kit?
one, kit there, they didn't actually sell that one in the club shop.
Yeah, that's right. That's a really rare kit.
Really
we
rare.
only wore that a few times.
Yeah,
didn't we?
correct. Yeah.
So if anyone has a copy of that kit, has one of those, it's worth quite a bit then, would you say, Matt?
Oh, yes, that'd be worth a little bit. Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at, that gem there is worth a little bit. And I've got an original match winner away shirt from 92-93. That's going on eBay at the minute. I mean, I'm not selling one, but there's some on eBay at the minute that you're looking at about £345 to £400. So yeah, if you got that one there, if you've got one of them, it's that's going to be worth some money.
Yeah. What was the story behind that kit as well? Because there was a story behind it,
yeah,
wasn't there?
I think it's something to do with what was the story behind that one?
It's not because our away kit was blue and our home kit was red and black, and Burnley is sort of got a bit of blue in their shorts, and maybe it clashed too much, so we had to get a new kit for that.
I think we were using the sky blue one at the time as well. There was an all sky blue one, I think.
Yes,
there is a story behind that kit, because there's the famous Patrick kits from the late 90s, the one, the green and black one that they just reproduced.
Or Ian Cox was wearing it, wasn't he? In the photo
that shirt there. The players were having a bad run of away games in that shirt. So Patrick made the same collar design and all that, but a whole white shirt. And that one as well wasn't ever sold in the club shop. So if someone's got one of them, that's a very, very rare one as well. But there's lots of rare shirts that I could probably bore everybody with for hours. But
I've got a training top on. Do you recognise this one?
Yeah. I've got that one. Yeah.
But I've washed it too many times. The Seward bit is coming off.
Yeah.
So I don't want to wear it too much.
I got the one you got there, and I've got the black one, and I think on the black one the S's fell off, I think.
Yeah.
So but yeah.
Used to be a fuzzy felt type thing, didn't it? In the old it's not.
It's a little, but this one's a bit more harder, like a plasticky hard, but it's
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's have a look at the players that Johnny's picked in the 2010s. So let's continue on. And I did mention him earlier on. I didn't actually see this slide, I promise you, Johnny, but Shwan Jalal, the Iraqi goalkeeper. Go on, take it away, mate.
I think it's always interesting when you've got like a random keeper that, keepers have a reputation for. I like keepers that are a bit wild and wacky. I mean, Artur Boruc, Shwan Jalal. I mean, Neil Moss had his moments, and in those days, keepers become a personality. Because they come to the North Stand and they're clapping. They get their water bottle. They're looking up to the fans, and we're appreciating the goalkeepers, especially when they make a save in front of us, right in front of the nets. Jalal tips one over the bar, brilliant, and this sort of attitude. So a stalwart goalkeeper, took us up a few divisions. He did 2 promotions then with us. So that's what a legacy that he's left, and of course capped by I think England under 21s and Iraq. Kurdistan or he's got at least a cap for one of the Iraqi, whether it's a FIFA team or the Kurdistan unaffiliated FIFA team. So he's an international footballer. Good memories of Shwan.
Yeah, he's
the promotion season 2012-13, I think, if I remember rightly, he lost his place to Ryan Allslop at the time. He was benched that season, and he didn't obviously break into the side when we got promoted to the Championship, which was a shame because great keeper, like you say. I mean, I loved watching Shwan Jalal, and now he's working with Eddie again at Newcastle.
Yeah, his life's gone full circle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next up, the man. Do you know what? I'll say this before, and I say this on every single show that we mentioned Brett Pittman on. I am so gutted he never got the chance to play in the Premier League. It's the one big bugbear of mine.
Yeah.
And I think he would have scored in the top flight as well.
Oh, easily. Yeah, I mean, I think Eddie Howe must have made a decision at some point because we had, if I remember back, we had Callum Wilson was scoring all the goals.
Yeah.
We had Ranty.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. So when we got promoted, he bought Josh King, right? So we got Josh King in. So that meant that Josh King and Callum Wilson are the two strikers, with Kermorgant, Stanislas, sort of midfielder stroke striker on the bench. And Pittman had somehow gone down the pecking order, which was unfair. Because Pittman was more prolific than, arguably Wilson, King and Kermorgant in those days. But maybe Eddie Howe just didn't fancy him for Premier League. I don't know the story why Eddie Howe didn't bring Pittman into his Premier League squad and let him go. Do you guys know the crack with that?
I don't know officially, but I think when you look at it, I think yes, he would have scored possibly at that level, but I think I don't think he would have coped with the pace of the game at that level.
Yeah, maybe
personally. And I think it was a decision that maybe to free up squad space, obviously to bring the likes of Josh King in, like you've said, and get off the wage bill. Plus, you don't want to keep a player like Brett who's used to scoring goals on a bench. He needs to be playing football, and obviously he left here, went to Ipswich and scored bags of goals there. So
yeah, everywhere he went, he's scoring goals. Bristol City and the likes, and I just remember some of his amazing goals. I mean, there was one at Fulham away. I think we beat them 5-1, and I think Miami scored 2 that game, and one of them was just a screamer. He just went on a run and fired it in. We smashed Fulham. And Pittman, the hat trick there that's mentioned. 16-minute hat trick. He's trying to get up to haters level, right? Let's be fairness to him. Just 14 minutes too long for the James Hater record, but still a absolute great player. Brought us up the divisions. In 3 divisions, I thought he was fantastic. It's just a pity, as Craig says, that he didn't get even just one match, 1 goal, and then that's it. That's life.
I beg to differ with his pace because, of course, he was always seemed to be in the right place at the right time.
It's not more like his pace. It was just more for me. The pace of the actual game. But who knows? Only Eddie and Brett knows the real reasons why. Obviously,
I don't blame Eddie Howe for it because the thing is, Eddie Howe knew what we needed to do to stay in the Premier League, so that's why he got in. Josh King and we had him and Wilson. I mean, they were fantastic up front. There's no way Pittman at that point would have been in the team ahead of those two for me anyway. But to have him on the bench and bring him on, it's just that's the little bit of magic I would have loved. Sort of the Alan Connell kind of last swan song of Brett Pittman in the Premier League. He scores the winner, I don't know, against Man United or something. It would have been a nice little story. But anyway, thanks for the memories, Brett.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, this man signed from Hereford United all those years ago and then just led us up the leagues. And he did, of course, get his chance in the top flight and he took it with both hands. And he is an absolute legend. I would say if you was to name 2 people that have been iconic with this football club that's not Eddie Howe, it would have to be Steve Fletcher and Mark Pugh. And Johnny, tell us what your thoughts were of Mark Pugh, because honestly, the man's a legend, and I think he's he's doing well. He just works hard. Everything he does, even his food stuff, he's working hard at now.
Yeah, he's such a tricky player. It's like the feet that he could move. He could move past players for fun. And I mean, he did that in that game where we beat Bolton 3-0. If you watch his goal, he just completely skins some guy and sticks the ball in the top corner. And, that was typical of Mark Pugh. There was I think he might have been, I could be wrong here, but he might have got into a goal of the month once in the Premier League. There was a goal he scored from about 20 yards. I don't know whether it was against Palace or Fulham. I can't remember who it was against, but I've got a feeling he got into a goal of the month. Do any of you remember that?
West Ham? Was it West Ham? When Callum Wilson scored a hat-trick.
Yeah, but it wasn't
the first win we had in the Premier League. And I think he scored against West Ham. And I think it was that one that was on
Was
goal.
it?
3, wasn't it? Ended
4-3.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that game with the Wilson hat trick, but I thought that he scored a 1-0 winner for us in another game, and I thought that one was in a goal.
Right.
I could be wrong. Maybe it was Leicester.
You might be right, yeah.
It might have been Leicester.
Yeah. We'll have to look at that.
But anyway, just tricky skills. You love watching players like that. Ironically, he did remind me a little bit of Gareth O'Connor at the start, because if you watch Gareth O'Connor, he was like a skill player. He did everything with his feet. He was a little bit tricky, and you loved having players on there, like O'Connor or Pugh on the team, because they're a little bit Brazilian magic, and Pugh was that for me. He was like the English, trying to be someone like the English, I don't know, Zico or something. He's got this little flair. And great player for us. Loads of goals from midfield, which is brilliant. And legacy left, brilliant.
It was actually West Ham as well. I was just having a little look, and it was the first game. It was where we had the gradient blue and black in the shirts. But he scored on the 66th minute, whereas Callum Wilson scored a hat-trick. Of course, he finished off with a penalty. But, yeah, it was a bit of a screamer. I've just been having a little look at it on BBC. So, yeah. Although saying that, he did score plenty of goals, so it could well be another one that you're probably referring to. Let's be honest, Pugh, just a legend, isn't he?
Yeah.
But let's go on to the next player. And of course, we just mentioned him just there about his hat trick. Callum Wilson, of course, signed from Coventry. Bargain. Although a lot of people at the time was like, "Whoa, hang on, spent quite a bit there." But Johnny's. Callum Wilson was a huge part of us firstly getting to the Premier League in the first place. But then, he just went up another couple of gears when he was there.
Yeah, and it links back to my early 90s ones, whereas another World Cup player, Callum Wilson went to Qatar, didn't he, with England? He was in the squad, he played. So you're always proud as a Cherry when our players are playing in the World Cup and the Euros. We want them to do well. Even probably he'd already left and gone to Newcastle by then, right? Or had he? Yeah, he had. Yeah. But the fact is, because he's an ex-Cherry and he contributed so much to us, I forgot the fact that he was at Newcastle. When I saw him in the World Cup playing for England, I'm treating him as if that's my Bournemouth player, Callum Wilson. So yeah, I just love players that really consistently played well. And he was great at penalties as well. So lots, when you can trust a player like that, he weighs in with the hat trick. He takes penalties. He can score with his head, both feet, tricky around the box. Probably had a few goals disallowed by VAR as well down the years, no doubt. And Eddie then took him to Newcastle, or did he? No, it wasn't Eddie. He was already at Newcastle.
No,
he was already at Newcastle. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, and what's he up to these days, Callum? Is he on the bench at Newcastle?
Injured.
Yeah.
He just had a bad record. He's just had a bad time really since he left, and he's just had these consistent horrible injuries that he just can't seem to get over.
Yeah. Since he did his ACL the first time, I think it was at Stoke, and he was on a bit of good goal scoring form for us, and it was a massive loss for us at the time.
Oh yeah, I remember that. We had to get in Benik Afobe, didn't we?
Yeah. Unlucky with injuries. I mean, he's hit his peak, and just the injuries is, so it's a real shame, because I think without the injuries, he definitely would have had some more England caps and goals. Great goal scorer though, wasn't he? And hopefully he finds his form again, whether he finds it at Newcastle again or whether he has to drop down maybe to the Championship. I don't know. I mean, he's not the youngest tool in the box now, is he? He's got to be 33. So for a
Yeah,
striker,
at
Yeah,
least that.
he's up there, and he's slightly probably not past it, but past his prime. But
I'll tell you what, I'll put this to you both now. If we was to get a cut price deal on Callum Wilson, would you have him here as backup?
I think I'm one of these that say sometimes you should never go back.
Mm-hmm.
And he was such a good goal scorer that, would he come? Do you want him to come back and just sit on the bench? And
I wouldn't want him back. I agree with you here. He left his legacy. Him and Josh King are in the same boat for me. They both did a great job for us. They're two of our highest goal scorers ever. They probably will be in Premier League. And we don't want to tarnish that or bring Callum back. Oh, well done, Callum. Give him 20 minutes at the end. Don't need that. We've got a new squad. We've got a new manager. Iraola's building his team. Callum Wilson's part of Eddie Howe's legacy for me. Leave it at that. That's what I would do.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, you look at the time they brought Jermaine Defoe back. Now, Jermaine Defoe's first spell, which I'm sure you'll remember really well, Johnny, was when obviously he come here and he hit the ground running and he had goal after goal, scored 10 in a row.
Yeah, I've got a DVD of that as well. I've got a DVD of that.
Yeah, I've got that. Yeah, the
classic,
Jermaine
isn't
Defoe
it?
season. Yeah, great.
Yeah, 10 in a row.
Yeah, great season, just apart from the last game. But yeah, and he come back, and when he come back, I was so excited, thinking, yes, he's come back and he's going to do what he did for us, last, and it didn't materialize. He didn't have a great time his second stint here with us, and so that's why I kind of think that with Callum, you see, in some respects, Defoe probably should never have come back to Bournemouth.
Yeah, although Defoe did score a few goals for us on his return that might have been quite important, I think, that season. But I think you're right. With Callum, we don't want him back. We don't need him back because we've moved on, and he's moved on as well. He probably end up at Coventry, because they like him at Coventry. He's a Coventry boy, and maybe they'll need him in the Championship. I don't know, but we will see what happens.
Well, let's have a look at the next player then. And it's my mate, Steve.
Oh, right.
Steve Cook. Legends. I love Steve Cook. What a defender. What a person, and I'm not just saying that. He would, one of his last actions, and sorry to go off on one here, was to throw himself head first, so it hit him full pelt in the face against Fulham in that promotion season back to the Premier League.
Did he take 3 blocks? Wasn't it 3 heroic blocks in a row, one after the other?
It was. Yeah,
it was something special, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he didn't do any goalkeeping heroics this time like he did against Norwich.
I
remind about that every time I do.
Yeah.
But go on, Johnny, you take it away.
Well, Steve, I mean, the thing is about Steve Cook, if you remember back around 2005 or 2006, we had a player called Stephen Cook, right, on loan from Aston Villa. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Remember
so another situation where I heard from somebody that we've signed Steve Cook, and I was like, what, the same Steve Cook that we had before? Because, we had a habit of maybe bringing a player back. Like we had Defoe twice, we had Alan Connell twice, Fletch twice, Begovic twice. So I was thinking when I heard that we've got Cook, did he come from Brighton? Where did we get him from?
Brighton, yeah.
Brighton. Yeah, and then I realised it's spelt differently. He's Steve Cook. He's not Stephen and then Cooke. It's a different spelling. So I was like, oh, okay, who is this guy? And he's a centre back. It's tough. He scores goals. I mean, he came up for all the corners and he scored some screamers. Like there was the one against Fulham, the same match. I'm referencing the same match here that Pittman scored in. So yeah, Cook fired one into the top corner, and he did. He scored one against Liverpool. Scummers. We beat the Scummers on a Tuesday night, and he scored, didn't he?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just his contribution to the club, man marking, keeping us in the Premier League for all those seasons, and then, with respect, he moved on, and I think he joined like Forest and QPR, and doesn't stop playing. He's still playing. So
Yeah, I
I
believe he's
think
captain at QPR at the moment, isn't he? I
yeah,
think.
he is. Yeah, I think he'll carry on playing. As long as he can. He will be one of those players that will be, a little bit like Brett Pittman. He will never want to give up. I think he'll probably end his career at, I believe his side's called Westfield.
Yeah.
No relation to the in-betweeners, but
right.
yeah. But that one, I know that picture. That was from, and I might be wrong. Do tell me if I'm wrong, Matt. But that was the game against Newcastle. It was
No,
the
you're
last
right.
minute.
Miles off. Miles off.
It's
Am
West
I?
Ham away. It's West
Yeah,
Ham away.
West Ham away.
Was it? I
Yeah,
remember him
he scored a
scoring
header.
against Newcastle
Yeah,
last
he
minute.
did.
Wasn't
That
it?
was in
Yeah,
the. I tell you, I got a funny story about that actually, Craig. Now you brought that up.
go on.
That game at Newcastle, and that was actually in the blue shirt.
Of course it
Which
was.
blue shirt? The
Season we
light
had.
blue? Is that the light blue one?
Yeah, the
Right.
light
Yeah.
blue Umbro one. I was actually on my honeymoon, right, when we went up to St James's Park.
Mhm.
And me being me, I hate going away during the football season. Absolutely hate going away. But obviously, your honeymoon's your honeymoon, innit?
Yeah.
Anyway, on the boat, I insisted we watched it because he had all Premier League football on the boat. Now, bearing in mind, I think we were in Jamaica at the time.
Mhm.
Anyway, we'd gone out to an excursion in Jamaica. I had a look around Jamaica. I said, we've got to get back because I want to be on that boat for the football. Right. So I made sure we were back. We sat there in this Irish themed bar. Okay, on this boat. Norwegian. Was it Norwegian? Norwegian coast. No, was that? Anyway, I can't remember the boat company. But anyway, so we sat there, and you're watching, you're thinking, God, it's got the half time, it's 0-0, and the second, it's getting there. The game's ticking away, and you're thinking this has got 0-0 all over it. Anyway, so we're sat in this Irish bar. Now, bearing in mind, we'd sailed out of New York. Okay, so the boat was full of Americans.
Mm.
So I'm in this bar full of American people, none of them watching the game, none of them interested in it. Anyway, Cookie's popped up, bang, straight in, right with his head. Of course, I have stood up and shouted at the top of my voice, get in there, right? Literally, the whole bar just stopped and looked at me, and my missus was sat there with her head in her hands, like in embarrassment.
Yeah.
All the Americans are just looking at me, and there's me in my Bournemouth shirt going, get in there. Yeah, good memories of that goal, actually, now you brought it up. But yeah, no, that picture's actually, like Johnny said, that's from when he scored at West Ham.
Which was another away win. So he had a habit of scoring in matches that we win. We beat the Scummers 2-0. We beat Liverpool 4-3. He got one. And there's the two that you've just referenced there, West Ham and Newcastle away. So yeah, great lad, cracking lad. And we'll see him at Dean Court again sometime. He'll be back, and he might even get a job at the club at some point. Who knows? But at the very least, he'll be there for dinners or speeches or something, because we respect guys like that a lot.
Yeah, he was actually back for the 125th anniversary dinner last week.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of him with Charlie Daniels and Frano and Tommy Alflick. So yeah, he's been back fairly recently, and yeah, like you say, it'd definitely be back here, and it'll always be back with Welcome Marms, because great player, another one of my favourites.
Definitely. And honestly, it's just such a nice bloke as well.
Yeah.
But what a man this man is. We've got a big pole in our goal. He's Artur Boruc. Honestly, Artur, he's a man of very few words, a very nice man, to be honest, but he is just safe hands. And of course, got him from Southampton.
I forgot about that. Yeah, forget where he came from. It's yeah. I mean, he played for Celtic, he played for Fiorentina and Legia Warszawa, Legia Warsaw as well. I mean, he's a calamity goalkeeper, isn't he? He's not. You're not putting him in like 100% every week he's going to be amazing. He had his mess ups. He'd drop the ball, or he'd make a mistake, and then 2 minutes later he's saving a penalty, or he's saving a point blank range shot, or he's having a party. Artur Boruc. I'm thinking of penalty saves. There was one at Birmingham away. You guys remember that? He saved a penalty, Birmingham.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He saved at Man United away. Ibrahimovic, I believe.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And I'm sure did he save a penalty from Jamie Vardy at one point, or have I got that wrong?
I've got a funny feeling he might have done, and I'll tell you when that was, because I was up there. That would have been New Year's Day 2016, I think, and that was the year that Leicester won the league, and I think Bournemouth were the only team in the Premier League that Leicester didn't beat that season. So we drew twice with them.
Yeah, you're right. The only other team I believe was Arsenal. It was that day, New Year's Day. Didn't Frano get sent off as well? I think he did. I think it might have been that's why the penalty was given away.
Yeah, I was up there because the wife has got family up there. So during the New Year period, we went up there and caught the game at the same time. Yes, it was definitely New Year's Day. And I've
actually just checked it. It was not Jamie Vardy didn't take the penalty. It was Riyad Mahrez took it. Took it. Yeah. So, and it says that Artur Boruc denied Mahrez with a two-handed save. So Vardy probably wasn't the penalty taker then that day. So, but Vardy did play.
Right.
Was it Frano that gave the penalty away?
Yep. I've just checked it. Yeah, Simon Francis was sent off for denying Jamie Vardy a clear goal scoring chance. Yeah, and then Boruc saved the penalty. So my memories of Boruc are actually related to saving penalties, and I mean that's brilliant. That's what goalkeepers are paid to do. The best chance a striker will ever get is a penalty, because for them it's 12 yards, them against the keeper. The best players score them. So for Artur Boruc to be saving, the three examples I just gave are all away matches at massive stadiums against big clubs, and he's kept us in the game. He's obviously earned us points there because I think we drew with Man United, and we drew with Leicester. So if it wasn't for Boruc, those would have been 2 defeats there, right there, and then. Obviously, he's Polish, so I'm based in Poland. I have a lot of Polish friends, so it's also good for me. And Craig, can you move the video to me for a second? Is it possible?
Oh, of course I can, mate.
I'm just going to show you something I've got here. So this is a Polish beer, Vodka, and that is Artur Boruc there.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So,
legends.
So how many Bournemouth players have been on a can of beer? But it's not just one can of beer. He's on the strong one as well. You got the classic and the strong. There he is. And it's red and black. You couldn't make that up, could you?
You couldn't write that if you tried.
Yeah. So
that is great.
Artur Boruc is having a party. If any of your listeners or readers know of any other AFC Bournemouth player that's ever been on a can of beer or an alcoholic drink, let us know, because I can't think of any. Can you guys think of any?
No, I can't, to be honest. I honestly can't. But I tell you what, there we are. Anybody who knows of a player who's been on a can of beer, let Jonny know, because he's collecting beer cans.
Yeah.
Mate, honestly, brilliant.
Well, there we go.
He was the highest capped Polish goalkeeper at one point, wasn't he?
At one point, but that would have been gone by now. I think Wojciech Szczęsny or someone, or Lewandowski would, I think you're right. Yeah, Matt, he would have done before at one point. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
I'll tell you what, let's come up to this modern day and, of course, the 2020s. And go on, take it away, Jonny.
Bill.
Yeah, so Phil Bill, we're straddling 2 decades there. He joined in 2019. I think was he at Huddersfield? Where did we get him from?
That's correct. Yeah, Huddersfield.
Yeah. Eddie Howe, obviously a lot of smart transfer market moves at the time. Bill, I mean, he has his critics, but he's a bit of a personality. He's cool. He's an international for Denmark, and he's a bit of a character. There's the goal that I remember the most was the the Kiefer Moore one, where, you know, Nottingham Forest are waiting on him to have a shot, and he just slides it over to Kiefer, and he sends us up to the Premier League again. Obviously, that one, his goals, like the away at Forest, I take it Nottingham Forest don't like him very much. He scored a screamer there as well.
Yes. Yeah.
And he weighs in with some brilliant goals. I think he had the Burnley last season, was it 40 yards, chip over the keeper and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Phil Bill, I just like characters, and yeah, he's got his critics, but fair play to him. I like to see him wearing the shirt, and I hope he stays with us. So we'll see what happens with him.
Yeah, definitely. And there has been some rumours, but you know, hopefully they won't come to fruition. But Marcus Tavernier is the next one. This is a player that I do like. You know, he works his socks off. But go on, Johnny, take it away.
I think with Tavs is, you know, Rangers fans obviously like his brother. He's a bit of a hero up at Rangers. And then you've got, so, you know, it's kind of, we've got a Tav, and our Tav scores goals as well. And he's come up with some crucial goals. I think there was like Southampton Scummers away, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was that almost relegated them? That was brilliant. You know, if you score the 1-0 winner away to the Scum and help relegate them, I think you've already written yourself into a bit of history there. Okay, I mean, obviously they went down and came back up, but the fact is he's part of the reason. I can also reference Phil Bill there, because he got the 1-0 winner at Leicester as well. Forgot about that, which actually relegated Leicester in a way, didn't it?
Yeah.
So these are the boys relegating other teams. I'm happy with that. Tav's got the winner at Wolves as well. There's a screamer against Fulham, and yeah, he's still doing the business this season. Is he a golfer? He's always, I see every time he scores a goal, he looks like he's swinging a golf club or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm one of his fans. So get him on the team here, Iola. I'll watch him every week.
Oh, most definitely. And good friends with Anton Semenyo. He does love Anton Semenyo as much as I do.
And I'd just give his mum a quick shout out as well, because I was sat with his mum at the Newcastle game the other day, and we were having a good old chat. And
right.
His mum's lovely.
Right, brilliant. She has to decide which son to go and watch. Should she go to Glasgow or Bournemouth?
Yeah, she's up and down the country all the time. She follows both James and Marcus, and she's definitely super proud of her two boys, and so she should be.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the next man, and we knew he was coming. Dom Solanke.
Yeah. Well, what can you say? I mean, he had to move on. I think he wanted to. Maybe he wanted European football, which he'll get at Tottenham Hotspur. I mean, he's such a great player. You know, he took time to settle, didn't he? I mean, the first few seasons he was sort of understudy to probably Callum and Josh for a bit, and then got always waiting for his chance in the Championship. Brilliant. And then obviously last season what was it? 21 goals, or 19, was it? 19 it says there. So yeah, Dom, one of those players that you miss him when he's gone. But we'll see. Maybe we can replace him, and good luck to him at Tottenham. Just don't score against us. You can score in all the other matches if you want, but don't be scoring against the Cherries.
He could score quite a few against Southampton, can't he?
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
And last but not least, David Brooks. Now, this is a man that, you know, I've got so much time for. And again, a very down-to-earth, good person who's, you know, had such a battle, you know, with something that nobody should have to go through. But, you know, I think he is coming out the other side. And go on, Johnny, you take it away.
Well, David Brooks, the first few seasons, he was just fantastic. He gives that extra bit of bite to the midfield. He weighs in with goals. He scored some really memorable goals. There was one against Brighton, a header, where he's running the opposite way and he heads it, you know, back the way he came, to quote Noel Gallagher. And Brooksy, and then he had the 4-0 against Chelsea. He scored one in that. You know, I mean, we shouldn't be beating Chelsea 4-0 anyway, should we? Well, you know, if you're going back like 20 years ago, you wouldn't believe it. And then Brooks was part of that really class Eddie Howe sort of team at that period, you know, sort of 2018 until our unfortunate relegation, and then cancer. And that was really sad. A sad time for Cherries fans, for Brooks and his family. And you know, I'm really glad that he's back playing. Whether or not he's going to break into our team, or whether he has to go out on loan or be a sub or whatever, we will see. But no matter what, we like him for his contribution, and we know he's had such a tough time in his life, and he's got to be a strong guy to get through all that. You know, I've got the likes of Harry Arter as well, had a lot of strong things to get through in his personal life. You know, football takes second stage there. Health is number one. But Brooksy, all the best with the rest of your career, whether it's at us or whether he moves on. It doesn't matter. I remember his contribution.
Most definitely. I think you've said it perfectly there, Johnny. I think you said it perfectly. And, you know, such a good, honest professional David Brooks is. And, you know, I hope, you know, I would absolutely, you know, I was gutted when he went to Southampton last season on loan. But, you know, I hope that he's got a future here under Iriola. Fingers crossed. But I think that's all we've got time for this week. But, Johnny,
hold on. Whoa.
Go on.
Right. Have you two got an idea?
I had an idea, but to be honest, you said it was wrong.
I don't want to give it away. I don't want to give it
away.
No, I had an idea, but I know now that was wrong because the kit didn't match with the era of the player I was thinking of. I reckon he played with Pittman though, so it's not Pittman because his hair, you can see he's a sort of blondie there. Yeah. I think I know who it is now, but I'll not give it away.
Go on, have a guess. Go on, say who you think.
Is it JG? Yeah.
Jeff Golding.
Yeah, the hair was a bit of a giveaway. It was a bit of not a giveaway, like what am I thinking of? Red herring. Because it looked like he was blonde in that one, didn't it? And then here he's got back to his dark hair. Yeah, Golding. So first time I didn't get it, I was thinking of who was that? I was thinking of Mark Molesley, I think.
Yes, yeah. I could definitely see why.
Yeah.
I got him miles bloody wrong. I got him miles wrong, so I'll hold my hands up. I was useless. To be honest, I'm useless at this normally. You know, if anybody knows of the tap-in, I went on there and there was a screen and it was literally showing slowly a picture merging of the player. I got 1 point for just naming David James with a second to go. So, yeah. Not one of my most successful appearances, to be honest, but yeah, I think
it's just in transfer news. Obviously, we wish Jadon Anthony all the best on his loan move at Burnley. Obviously, that's completed and announced earlier on. And Gavin Kilkenny has signed permanently for Swindon Town. So, we wish him all the best as well.
There we go. You can have a pint of Kilkenny to that. Yeah, and is that another Irish reference? It is, isn't it?
Yeah, he's Republic, I think, Republic of Ireland.
Yeah, full level.
Who?
Yeah, is it full level?
Sorry, no. I think he was capped
under 21.
About the under 21s, yeah.
Yeah, I mean Harry Arter was full, and Travers for them. Yeah.
But I think that is all we've got time for. Johnny, honestly, it's been a pleasure. And where are you off to next on your travels?
Well, I do want to get to a game, whether it's a Dean Court away game. Actually not doing too much at the minute. I'll be staying in Poland, doing a bit of writing and a bit of blogging probably. But I'll be back in the UK at some point this season for a match. And if anyone wants to meet up for a pint, I'll be there. A pint of Kilkenny, who knows? Yeah.
Oh, most definitely, mate.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to make sure, I'm in for that. Matt's in for that as well. I've already decided for him. So yeah, we will be there. And Matt, no doubt, see you again next week for some more cherry picking.
During the international break, which is going to bore everybody, but
exactly.
Yeah, roll on, getting the Premier League football back. But yeah, I'm sure we'll be back with a little something next week.
Do you know what? When just a funny thing to finish on, and of course it comes into traveling. When I went to Jamaica, I went in 2009. And so years and years and years ago, and I actually went to Bob Marley's house. Have you ever been to Bob Marley's house?
I've been in that. It's not a surprise that I've been there as well. Have you been there?
Yeah,
Matt,
I have.
I've been to Jamaica, but I haven't had the privilege. I did see Mick Jagger's house though.
All right,
okay. I did see that, but not Bob Marley's.
Oh, we could have had a hat trick there. We could have had a James Hader hat trick. All three of us had been to Bob Marley's house. Yeah, I've been in Bob Marley's house. And did you have a beer in there, Craig?
Yes. Yeah.
So we both. I had a Red Stripe. I had a bottle of
Red Stripe quality.
Yeah.
Red Stripe, honestly. Do you know what? I might go and get some in a minute. But yeah, there was a guy there, and I don't know if you've had the same tour guide, but I would absolutely love it if you have. There was a tour guide called Captain Crazy, and he used to have such a laugh. He used to go, ha, 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 ha. And honestly, if you type in after this show, Captain Crazy, and then... Captain Crazy, Bob Marley tour. Honestly, I'm not making it up. It is true. But the trademark was, we don't drink and drive, we smoke and fly here.
Right.
Honestly.
Yeah, I definitely didn't have that tour guide because I would have remembered it. And I was actually there during COVID. So they actually made us wear a mask at some point. I seem to remember that. And then the guy said, oh, don't worry about that. So there was like a thing where you were supposed to wear a mask when you were around people. And then I blogged about that as well. So yeah, Marley, nice wee reference at the end there. So
yeah, definitely. They didn't make everybody wear masks when I went there, mainly because they were smoking other things. You could actually purchase it. Believe it or not, it's actually illegal for anybody outside of Jamaica to actually smoke it. But of course, they close a blind eye to it, when you go around Bob Marley's house. So, yeah, if you wanted to, which I didn't, I chose not to.
Is that actually his Land Rover in his house?
Yeah.
Oh,
Bob Marley.
I'm just looking at the post that you've just put in there, Johnny.
Well, he was a footballer as well. He was a good footballer. Yeah. And he could either focus on football or music, and he just went. Go for music, but he could have played for Jamaica. You never know.
You learn something new every day on air.
Well, our musical references have gone all the way from Oasis at the start to Bob Marley by the end. So that's how we do things here. We're a very musical football channel. Make sure you hit subscribe, hit the bell, do all that, and we shall see you in the next one. Thank you for joining us, everyone.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.